Hello, today we are on day 3 of STAAR review. The next couple days, day 3, 4, and 5, we're talking about the proportional and non-proportional reasoning topic. In that topic, there's going to be about 12 questions on the STAAR test, so it's a pretty big chunk of the STAAR test. The main topics within this category, we have slope, which is 2 questions, non-proportional reasoning, which will be 2 questions, y equals mx plus b, which will be 2 questions, and then functions will also be 2 questions. And then there could also be a question over identifying proportional or non-proportional relationships or proportional reasoning. But the biggest things that we need to know are these 4 right here within this topic. So before we get into day 3's stuff, which is over slope and y-intercepts, okay, I want to show you some resources that you already have in your STAAR review folder. So the first thing that I want to show you is on your STAAR reference sheet that you have. Some things that you're going to want, it's at the very top of your STAAR reference sheet. Slope-intercept form, direct variation, which is y equals kx, but it could also be y equals mx. And then we have slope of a line, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is the same thing as rise over run. Okay, so slope of a line, if we're given a graph, rise over run. That's your STAAR chart. Next, we have your study sheet. Now, the top part is real numbers on that first page, but at the bottom sections here, we have how to find slope, how to find the y-intercept, proportional relationships, non-proportional relationships, and then at the bottom we have functions and non-functions. So, this topic, all of this is within that topic. It's a pretty big topic. Then we have our calculator steps. The calculator steps that you're going to want to know for this one. Sometimes you need to be able to convert between fractions and decimals, but the most important one is on the back, finding slope with the calculator, which not only do you find slope, you can also find your y-intercept, your m and your b. So this right here is going to be your steps on how to put a table into your calculator. So those are the important things for you to know that you have as a resource in your STAAR review folder. So now, today, we're going to be working with slope and y-intercepts. So we are on page 5 in your packet. So let's start off talking about slope. So slope is the steepness of a line. Okay, slope is the steepness of the line. It's talking about the vertical change to the amount of horizontal change. It's represented by the variable m. This is super important. Slope is your m. I'll make a little note here. Slope is your m. Okay, it's also known as rate of change or rate. Okay, some ways that you might see it is m is the change in y over change in x. M is rise over run, or m equals y2 minus y1 over y2 minus, or over x2 minus x1. So there are 4 different types of slope. I'm gonna draw it out right here. If you remember watching The Adventures of Slope Dude, it looks like this. So Slope Dude goes up the mountain, but it's puff puff positive. Then he goes down the mountain and he says, nice, negative, nice, negative. And then he goes on this flat part and he says, wow, this is 0 fun. This is 0 fun. Then he gets to this point where he falls off the cliff and he yells, undefined. So those are the 4 different types of slope that you will see with these relationships. Remember, slope is the steepness, not the placement on the graph. Okay, it's the steepness of the line. The other thing that we need to talk about is y-intercepts. Y-intercept is the point in the line where it intersects the y-axis. Where does the line cross the y-axis? And the letter that they use, or that we use for y-intercept, is the B. Okay, it is the y value in x equals 0. So here are some examples that we see here. Okay, finding slope and y-intercept in a graph. We do rise over run. We pick 2 points. Sometimes they give us the 2 points, which is awesome. And then we make a right triangle. And we look at rise over run. Remember, rise is going up. So my rise here, I see that they're counting by ones on my y-axis. So my rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then my run is that horizontal change. I see that they're counting by ones on my x-axis. So I count 1, 2. So when I do rise over run, I have 4 over 2. And then I simplify. So my slope for this graph right here is 2. Then my y-intercept is where my line crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. Where does that line cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses right here. That's my B. So my B is -4. Or if I were writing it with the ordered pair, it'd be 0, -4. So that's if I'm given a graph. Now, if I have a table, I could do it by changing x over changing y, but I also want to show you how it looks if I want to use my calculator. So I'm going to rewrite this table for you. So they gave me this table, 1, 3, 4, 7, 4, -2, All right, so here is that table. So the exact same table, I just copied it down on this piece of paper. We're going to go into our calculator and use our steps to find the slope and the y-intercept of that table. So we go to our calculator, go to your home screen. We're gonna add a new document. If they ask you to save, you click no. Now to create a table, we're gonna add a number 4, a list and spreadsheet. So I need to first make my 2 columns, my X and my Y. So I'm going to go up to the A box. I'm going to put the letter X. Remember that X is the black button on the bottom, the letter X. Then we'll scroll over to the B and put Y. And now I can fill in my table. I'm going to start off with the white boxes right here. So I'm going to put 1, 3. Now technically I only need to put 2 points on here, but I'm going to go ahead and do the rest just to show you. So there's my X values, and then I'm going to make sure my Y values that go with it line up. So I've typed in all my table. I need to click out of my table. I need to be in a blank box. There cannot be a cursor in it, nothing. It has to be completely blank. So now I can put push menu, 4 for statistics, 1 for stat calculations, and then 3 for linear regression, MX plus B. Now, where it says X list, I'm going to type in the X. Where it says Y list, I'm going to type in the Y. And then I scroll down and I click OK. And now over here, it tells me what my M and my B are. So my M, my slope is -3. And my B is 7. And that's how you use a table to find your slope and your y-intercept whenever you use your calculator. On the back, it talks about graphs of proportional relationships. It's the same thing that we've been talking about. I know that it is proportional. It has to have a constant rate of change and pass through the origin. That's probably the most important part. It's the easiest thing to see. It's going to be proportional if it goes through the origin. So these 2 graph examples that we see right here are both proportional because they both go through 0. And it's going to be a constant rate of change, which means it's going to be a straight line. So for example, in this one, talking about the relationship between the height of a plant X and the number of weeks since it was planted Y, how does the plant grow each week? Well, I see it grows in height 5 inches for every 2 weeks. So 5 over 2, that means it's growing 2.5 inches each week. What you're going to do now is you are going to finish the questions on your Google form talking about slope and y-intercept.